Hello and welcome to the Lunchbox reviews. Today we are doing Eternals. I'm joined by Alex.
Hello.
And Michelle.
Hello.
So Eternals is a movie directed by current Best Director in the Oscars, Chloe Zhao. It's a very big cast, so let's go through them. It's Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, Selma Hayek, Kit Harington, Kumail Nanjiani, Leah McHugh, Brian Tyree Henry, Lauren Rudolph, Barry Keoghan. I don't know, it's Irish, I can't pronounce that properly. Don Lee. So just a kind of a quick overview, no spoiler overview for the Eternals. It's basically the kind of the origin of the Marvel universe. These Eternals are put to Earth by the Celestials so that they can kind of fight the deviants and help the human population grow. But that's not really it, and we'll talk about that eventually. And so yeah, lots of crazy things happen. It is probably Marvel's most dense movies, very heady. So let's start off with our first thoughts. Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll start with this. Number one, there's a reason why the Eternals comics never sold. Okay, because it's just not. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not reader friendly. It's not for the casual reader. Same reason like this movie is not for the casual viewer. And second thing about the Eternals is that if the humans are second-rate X-Men, then the Eternals are second-rate Inhumans, which, you know, sadly, but that's sort of the case of the Eternals in terms of Marvel lore. No one really cares about these characters. So going into it, it was kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy situation. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? And as far as the story goes, it is like the most, despite not being set in space, it's like the most cosmic story that a Marvel movie has ever done. Kind of like you hear it thrown around a lot, the Chariot of the Gods, and it's basically like what if like an alien civilization had a hand in human human development. And I'll just say that like I really enjoyed this movie. The things I didn't enjoy was that it was all the Marvel stuff. Lou, you mentioned the guy Harish Patel. If they would have just kicked his ass off, it would have been a better movie because there would have been no forced comedy. And that's really what was dragging it down. What's his name? Kingo, aka I'm looking at the IMDb here. Kumail Nanjiani. He's a comedic actor. It comes very naturally. So like there was nothing wrong with his funny bits.
Harun was the forced humor.
Exactly. Yeah. And like there were other moments of forced humor that like it's like stop being so Marvel. And the last thing I'll say, it's like people say that it's like a DC movie, and like yeah, it's true. It's kind of like beefier, stronger, but it doesn't mean that it's a Snyder movie because it's not a Zack Snyder movie. It does feel like a DC movie, just good.
Wow. Okay. I also liked it a lot. I liked it for, I guess, maybe different reasons than Alex. For the first time ever, I liked the comedy. I don't know. It worked for me, which is so like, it's so weird that I hate, I always don't like the comedy in most of these types of movies. For some reason, it worked so well for me in this one. I think because I was so unfamiliar with anything related to this, that the comedy helped me not get bogged down by all the story. So I didn't fall into the Dune problem where I'm like, there's too much happening and I don't understand. The comedy kind of gave me those moments to just kind of accept what was happening and just have a good time. And this movie was a good time. It felt good. I was like, yeah, I'm okay with this. There wasn't any big issues that I personally had with it. All the characters made sense to me. I kind of liked, like, the thing I liked, which was also, I heard some people's complaints about this who didn't know Eternals, was the Eternals, like, as characters are very, like, stereotypical characters. Like, they play their roles very to a T. Like, it reminds me of like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. It's like you have this character and this character, and this is all they do. This is their role. And I liked that. It made it for me very easy to understand like how the characters interacted, who they were to each other, because it was very like, here's who they are. They're very kind of basic in that sense. Not boring, just understandable. Whereas I know some people complained about that because we were a little too like, I don't know, cookie cutter. And I like that. I like the cookie cutter, like, here's our team, here's our leader, here's how this works, and here are these different dynamics. It worked really well for me. And it was entertaining. I was highly entertained. It's not like my favorite thing, but like I enjoyed it. That's it.
I wanna do something interesting later on before I do my quick thoughts. Later on we're gonna, because this is the latest one, so I want, if you guys know of hand, your top 5 MCU film and where you would put Eternals. Something to think about during like the while we talk. So quick thoughts. As I know, I didn't think I hit it that this was my most anticipated MCU movie of the year, even more than Spider-Man. But and then before I saw the movie, the reviews came out, the bad reviews. So I was like, oh god damn, I was so waiting for this. I'm gonna get let down. And even as I was kind of thinking and like trying to figure out if you guys would like it, I'm like, I think I'm gonna be alone, because I understand how it's gonna be the most divisive kind of Marvel movie ever. But I'm actually glad you like it. For me, I loved it so much. There's once in a while there's a movie that comes out and you're like, I think they made that for me. There's only like 4 other movies I think that did that. The Goonies, The Fall, Pan's Labyrinth, and Eternals. And I was just like blown away by Chloe Zhao's kind of just use of shooting at golden hour, which I think she did that every chance that she could get. The stories I could relate to, the characters, the performances were great. The special effects were good until I would say there's a couple of things in the CGI that I didn't quite like, but we'll talk about it. So yeah, this movie actually blew my mind. I loved it so much. So let's kind of talk about it. So we'll start off with a story. We just kind of talked briefly the story. What did you guys like about the story, and what worked and what didn't work for you guys?
I think just the basic concept of the story worked for me. It made sense. I understood kind of like why they were doing what they were doing, and like their mission. I understood that. That totally made sense. I'm like, okay, that checks out. I liked the little nod, like the little moment between Dane and Cersei, where he is like, well, where were you guys when Thanos was doing his thing? I like that little mention. That was, I know, a question I would have had. I liked that because it really set this story within the greater universe without getting bogged down by the greater universe. And I really liked that part. And then when it was kind of revealed like what their true mission was, it worked really well for me, because each character was so committed to their original mission, or like they were having like all their characters were so invested in the original mission in their own ways that I could understand why they'd all react the way they would down the line. So even when we do have that moment with Icarus being just like the bad guy, I got it. Like I was like, yeah, I get it. That's your mission. Like I didn't necessarily relate to him in any way, but it made sense to me that his character could make the decisions that he did. And I like that, because I don't love when we get a character that's like so good and da da da, and then they're like, just kidding, they were bad all along, and he doesn't really fit for their character. In his case, it fit, and it didn't necessarily feel like he was bad. He was just like really committed to the mission without questioning why, and like that makes sense to me as like
The good soldier through and through.
Yeah, exactly. And it made sense for his character and the story and just like his relationships with the other characters. I liked that being the reason for him leaving Cersei, like protecting her. I actually really liked that as his reasoning. I thought it made sense. I was just like, I didn't want to get bogged down with the stupid like love story. I was like, get it out of here. I'm over it. It worked. It worked actually really well for me. yeah, that the story, like, I don't have really many concerns about, like, the grand story. There's like nitpicky bits and bobs, but
Yeah.
the grand story, I get it, makes sense, it checks out, I'm here for it, I understand it, it's all good.
Okay, so like I guess I offer the unique perspective of like being the comic nerd and the whole I'll explain bit, right? So like the main plot of this, it's basically taken from like my favorite Marvel comic series of all time, which is Earth X, and in that it's revealed
Oh,
that that the Celestials implant planets with like a cosmic egg that hatches, destroys the world, becomes a celestial, just like in this movie. Nowhere else to be found in regular Marvel canon, except in this dystopian future story. And like this is also the reason why Galactus goes around eating planets. But again, yeah, right. So
Okay,
so,
that
so
makes
like
sense.
he's keeping them in check. But again, that's like a dystopian thing. They might be, you know, putting that into the MCU. So like as far as like the whole cosmic scene goes, I love it because it's just this grand scope, grand story. In my opinion, it sacrifices some of the relatability to the characters, especially like in the face of like characters like I don't know, well you can't even say Thor's relatable, but even like Black Widow or like even Tony Stark, you know, he's got his flaws and stuff besides being rich, but like that's usually Marvel's thing, like Spider-Man, like the everyman, like you relate to these characters, and it's really hard to relate to like somebody who's like thousands of years old and actually a robot. So I guess that's that was kind of like the trade-off there. But to me, it was really ambitious and like out of the box for what Marvel does. That's why when it like would go back to like the Marvel tropes of like, hey, funny joke, there's a human here who shouldn't be here. Hey, he's heavy set, ha ha. It didn't work. It didn't work for me. But yeah, I love that the Icarus twist at the end. I did feel like there was like a lot of potential for other stories like Druid. That was like so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like one of the coolest things where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing. Like maybe there should have been more tension there, like more reason because that was kind of like settled kind of quickly. Um, the whole Dane thing, like I wasn't expecting him to disappear for basically the entire movie. He was just there in the beginning, old Jon Snow, and then he comes back at the end. That was another weird one. I suppose we should talk mid credit scene later.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Yeah. Okay, we'll do that later.
We'll talk about it. The end credit scenes.
End credit scene. Yeah. So yeah, I mean like for what it did for its uniqueness, I enjoyed the story more than I didn't.
All right, so I came here today fully ready to battle you guys because I think we just hate it. And I was like, I'm gonna be alone in this. So yeah, I'm just gonna echo off what you guys were saying. Alex was mentioning Earth X, and they did kind of grab a little bit from the only Eternals run I've read was the Neil Gaiman one, which had Tiamat ready to be born. I really like that story, and I love that they're gonna just go cosmic with this and just stay away from Earth now. It's overdone. Everything just happening on Earth, somewhere in New York, somewhere in LA. It's good that they're just gonna go have this missions. Yep. So I was really happy to see that Eternals return because kind of like the Dune situation where we didn't know kind of when the next Dune would be. While the movie was happening, I was kind of thinking, shit, I wonder if they're gonna do the Eternals too. But this is Marvel. It's almost like even if some movies don't make enough money, the other movies will more than make up like for the money for it, right? I think there was some parts of the story that didn't work for me, and I think the time jump for me was kind of a lot and too much. Because basically the first maybe 30 minutes the movie they kept jumping back and forth. This is one of those movies where I wish had more time. I know it was a really long movie, but I wish there was more time. Just give it a little more breathing room from like all the eras they jump to. And I forgot to mention this earlier. It was really cool that this is also really biblical because when the opening scroll went up in the beginning, for all you people that know the Bible, in the beginning is Genesis, and kind of like there was another one that my friend actually mentioned to me is there were 7 different eras, which Ajak mentioned 7 days, so it also had like 7 different eras they jumped back and forth to. Yeah, I think I do kind of agree a little bit with Alex with Karun. I thought some of the jokes were fine. It was just like in the scene, it was kind of there. It didn't take you out of it, but there was also a lot of Karun where it was forced humor, where it was just like, yeah, so blah blah. Sure, I shouldn't do that, but it was just forced. Did you guys have anything that you thought didn't work in the story, or?
Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead.
You don't mind?
Go
We're gonna
ahead.
trash it now. Sorry,
Yeah,
Lou, we're gonna.
You've unleashed us. You asked.
I was prepared for this.
It's on. Okay, I'm gonna say deviant stuff was kind of weak because like they're kind of not formidable, and then like the main one kept coming back, and we're like sort of forced to think that they impose a threat when really like the main antagonist has always felt like the Celestials and the existential crisis that the Eternals are having. Once they find out the true nature of their reality, like that was the central conflict for me, or at least the most interesting conflict. The whole deviance kept showing up. Didn't like it. Michelle.
Okay, so my issues, I don't know. This one's just gonna Sprite. Hello, just all that. Oh, you love Icarus. You're also a child. You also want to be a human suddenly. Where the frick did that come from? Like, there was no mention in the rest of the entire movie that Sprite had any feelings for Icarus. Like, that just started happening in the second half, where it's like, but I wish if they're going that route, they'd establish it when Icarus first showed up, like a Sprite having like more of a notable reaction, because it just wasn't. I didn't see that coming at all, and I was just like, that's weird, because you've really established that this is a child at this point. Not like, they could have done a better. Okay, hold on. Let me collect my thoughts here. I'm so weird about this one. I wish they'd actually properly established Sprite as being an eternal, in the sense that Sprite has lived all these lifetimes and therefore is only in a child's body and not a child's mind, because Sprite acted very childish and then suddenly likes this older dude that was dating her friend, which is also, you're crossing friendship boundaries. That's rude. Also, you're kind of a weird family. I don't understand what the dynamic is, because Sprite has this very like child of the group dynamic. So in introducing this weird love triangle, I hated it. And then at no point is it mentioned that Sprite's interested in being a human and living life until the very end, where it would have been really interesting if throughout Sprite had more of these moments of witnessing humans do human things around her and be like, kind of, oh, look at that. Like, she's like, I want a family. Since when ever did you mention that? Maybe at some point she had interacted with a baby. That would have been interesting to watch, of seeing her interact with this baby in a way that isn't a child interacting with a baby, but a woman who wants to become a mother interacting with a baby. Like, that would look really different, and that could have been a really interesting moment for her character. That character to me was not strong at all, despite being in most of the movie, where some of the other Eternals got like sidelined to like the last quarter and just got nothing. Sprite to me was still more of a question mark as a character, even though she was in everything. It just like made no sense to me, a lot of her decisions. So I have problems with Sprite. Well acted, just hate the character.
I'm gonna go back to the deviants as well, like Alex said, because from what I know, and I haven't read a lot of the Eternals runs in Marvel, but to me the deviants are what Superman Lex Luthor is, Batman Joker is. So the deviants are kind of like the opposite of the Eternals, and they're supposed to be formidable, but they just were here to get slapped around by the Eternals. And I mean, I do understand that Crow evolved and became that deviant. I wish there was more crows to kind of battle with the Eternals, but it's still kind of it's the Celestials that are like the main bad guys in this movie. Although I honestly think that there is no clear cut villain because everybody had a purpose and they were just doing their purpose. That's what I thought. That's what I got. So I guess we can move on to the technical. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to address Michelle's point, which is absolutely true. Like Sprite, the only thing they had was that Sprite was getting carded in the beginning of the movie, and that's when I thought, like, okay, cool, they're gonna play off it. No, they didn't. Like the rest of the movie passed. It might have had some scenes where maybe something popped up, but like it went unnoticed. Oh yeah, I think they did mention it's like, oh, you can't live anywhere too long because you're always a kid. It's like, okay, but how about more moments where she longs, like you show that she longs to be older, or like to look older. And as for the deviant thing, it's so weird because it's Bill Skarsgård playing Crow. Then if that's the case, you should have had him speaking from the beginning. Like when he first shows up, he starts
100%.
talking. It's like, yeah, it's like, oh, this isn't a normal deviant. Then you have some intrigue there, right? Instead of, oh, I'm super strong, I heal. All right, but anyway, all right.
And he was like giving other deviants some things, So like, okay, so are they gonna talk now? And they just had like tiny bits of power or whatever it was, but so it didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Adding on to the deviant thing. So interesting you pointed them out because him giving the other ones power, we saw that after the other ones had already been dispatched. So it didn't mean anything because they'd already had the battle in the village where they'd already killed these special, like, more powerful ones with the same amount of effort that we'd seen them kill the other ones with. So what was the point of any of that scene? Being like, here, have some power, but like you already got wrecked, so it doesn't matter. I thought that was really interesting. And then this is just a me problem or a me question. The way he looked like that Crow when he transformed was very, I don't know, it didn't work for me. Like his little, I don't know, was he supposed to be a celestial looking thing or an Ultron looking thing? Like he just looked too familiar, if that made sense. I don't know what that, Alex, can you help me? What is that?
He looked like Steppenwolf from Justice League.
Okay.
Total shit. Total
there was something
trash.
there. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it was definitely like not very well thought out or creative, but as far as looks go, yeah.
Yeah,
it probably didn't help
again with the Sprite thing. Again, agreeing with both of you. Although I kind of had to, because basically to me it's just Sprite just went like A to D, and they'd really mention B, C, and all that stuff, which I kind of just filled in my head. Although I do understand you, but I kind of just like, okay, what did Sprite? Okay, they showed the hand in the thing, the drink, and longing looks at there was like one at Icarus, and then the mention of like Peter Pan, Wendy, and she's Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell's and I had to like fill in the blanks for myself. I would like to see it because you guys are absolutely right that there should be more of Sprite. But then again, we're like complaining about 10 characters in one movie where they're really well written, like, to be honest. And then so yeah, I guess we can move on. Let's talk about the technical aspects of the movie. Let's talk about the look, the production design, the sound, and the special effects. What do you guys got?
Okay, I want to say something about the special effects. And this is because we just very recently reviewed The Thing. I think it actually hurt my expectations for the Deviants because I was disappointed in how they looked. I thought they were actually kind of too cute. and like fun looking. There was one that looked like a salamander in the village. I don't know if you remember that one. It was precious. I love it. I want it as a stuffed animal. It's so cute. And I really wish they'd actually gone like pushed it further. Push the envelope more with that, make them a little bit like their name is Deviant. Like that's what they're called. So I expect something a little bit weirder, a little bit like just more like I don't know, they're a cookie cutter monster. It's just like it look like they look too familiar still. It looks like, oh, this one's a lion but squiggly looking, and this one's a bird and squiggly looking, and that's it. They didn't even do the thing where they're all actually squiggly with their little bits. Like that would have been better. I just wish that they had looked more formidable in some way.
More menacing.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope we're all going back to a time, or we're all heading towards this like time where like CGI is just absolutely trash. Just like we turn on it and beg for more practical effects.
Bring practicals back.
Yes, like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. There's huge animatronics and stuff. Yeah, they look fake. Yeah, they, whatever. The deviants are phony. They're like weird little creature thing. But like I guess I was too focused on how beautiful everything looked, because like just the landscape and like when the Celestial was just being born. Yeah, that was so beautiful. And it looked really nice. Like those are the technical aspects that I focused on more than like the CGI, because the CGI are like pew, 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 whatever, and like that stuff puts me to sleep, because like I hate Avatar, and like James Cameron should just count his money in his mansion, forget the sequels.
Again, you guys mentioned it all already. Some of the CGI was sus. The Celestials look amazing, which proves to me Fox Fantastic Four, you could have done Galactus properly. Look at the Celestials, you could have done Galactus properly. And I do kind of respect the fact that Chloe Zhao shot on location, and so that these actors had natural backgrounds to act against. Because I saw like a behind the scenes of Shang-Chi recently, and do you know one of the very first scenes, the car where Shang-Chi and Awkwafina were just grabbing the car from a customer? That was behind blue screen. It wasn't even on location. That was blue screen. It's crazy. And Chloe Zhao took her time to like shoot everything in golden hour and made sure like everything, the lighting was right. It was beautiful. Anyone you want to say anything while I think about more things technical wise I want to say about this?
I just do want to tack on something about the CGI. It's actually because like the ancient civilizations look beautiful, and I'm positive that, well, I'm not positive, like I'm pretty sure that like it had to be CGI. Like I don't really think it's like a miniature. It could be a miniature and like I'm completely fooled, but it's probably easier just to do CGI. But that looked really nice. Like it wasn't all terrible. Like Icarus shooting his laser beams from his eyes. That looked dope. That looked like the way it should. Yeah. But like I guess it was just like the way the deviants looked.
I didn't actually. I know you don't like. I'm gonna just disagree with all y'all. I had no problem with the way the powers were portrayed with the CGI. I thought it worked great. I thought it looked really cool. I liked the similarities and differences. Like they all have like the yellow power or whatever. But I liked how like the individual powers looked and worked. I thought that final fight. Oh god, I can't remember the character's name. The guy who like tinkers with stuff. What's his name?
Fastos.
Fastos. Him. His little band thing that he did to Icarus. I thought that looked awesome. I don't know. I just really enjoyed like that entire sequence. And I don't remember a lot of characters' names. The girl who runs really fast.
Makari.
Yeah.
Makari.
The way her fight with Icarus as well, like that, like running around speeding thing, I thought looked awesome. I really, really liked that as well. I didn't have an issue with truly any of the powers being portrayed. And I liked that Druid's powers was very like, it's just the eyes. It doesn't look like much. And I really liked the nuance of it. So that was cool. I like that. It looked cool for me. I like powers, just any powers. They look cool. I like it.
I want to go back to to like the powers. The only power set that I didn't really like was Kingo's, like the finger guns.
Yeah,
I didn't understand it. Like finger guns, and you did a little kamehameha, and
yeah.
that's it. But other than like Sprite's power set was cool. My favorite,
Thena was awesome.
Thena. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Thena was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Like I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but I think right now, Makari is the best looking speedster out of all the other speedsters out there, because she's the only speedster that didn't have a slow-mo version. We had Flash's weird kind of limbs going all over the place. Quicksilver was cool because they did it right. And Makari, although I guess power-wise she's not the fastest, but her powers look cool just zipping around. Like the little sonic boom during the first part where she pushed Deviant off with just using like the sonic boom. I thought that was really cool.
I agree.
From a purely nerd point of view, which I sit firmly in, yeah, Makari is dope. Like her speed was insane. It was basically like watching the Flash. Yeah.
How the Flash should be.
Yeah. Well, he might have been if it wasn't for the slow mo. But you do anything with Zack Snyder, it's gonna be slow mo.
There was no hot dogs in this one, which was really
cool.
cool.
Yeah. No innuendos, thank God.
God, I've totally repressed that. Thanks for bringing that back up.
You know what? Let's move on. Let's talk about the performances. This is a very large cast, although you wouldn't really think about it because there's like 10 main characters, but then actually there's only like 23 people cast into this movie, which is not a lot of people. But let's just talk about like the main people. What did you guys think of the performances? Good or bad?
I don't think there was a performance in there that stood out to me as bad. I really can't think of one that, if I have issues with a character, it's not because I have issues with the performance of that character. I think everyone played their roles very, very well. Yeah, I think they were all good. For me, like I was a huge Game of Thrones fan. So it's interesting seeing the Rob Stark and the Jon Snow back together on screen. And I honestly wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about it. And also because her name's Cersei, I was like, this is weird. I don't know. This was tripping me out. It took me a little bit to kind of get used to that. I actually really like that Kit Harington wasn't in this movie very much, because if I had to be like someone was the weakest, it was maybe him, but I don't think it's his fault at all. He just wasn't really in this movie. Gemma Chan as Cersei was spectacular, amazing. I really liked her character. I'm a huge, like, mega super fan of Angelina Jolie. I'm obsessed with her. Like, I'm biased. Like, I will like Angelina Jolie anything. I don't even care. And I thought she was so good in this movie, especially with like her and Gilgamesh, like their relationship and the way like she acted around his death, and like that whole thing was, and her little speech for Cersei was so well done. Like Angelina Jolie is always a gold star for me, but particularly in this movie where she wasn't the main character and she was just able to like be a very awesome supporting character, I really liked it.
She didn't take the focus off anybody. It's like,
no,
she did her thing and she did it well.
Exactly. She like could steal a scene without like taking away from somebody else. If that makes sense. Like she knew when it was her moment to like shine, and it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, I want to praise Angelina Jolie some more. It's like part her, part story, where I was convinced that okay, she's going to be the villain, or like she's going to be in cahoots with the Celestials or something. It turned out to be Icarus instead. But so yeah, it was really well done by Angelina Jolie's part, like the confused warrior, and when she turns it on as a warrior, she turns it on. It's great acting. I actually do look forward to seeing more of her in the future. As far as the rest of the cast, solid. Like I've got like no complaints. Kingo was funny because you hired an actor, he beefed up, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, he well done on
the
his
Marvel
part.
Diet.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah, I guess same. All the performances were good. All the relationships were great. Although if I had to like pick a kind of a relationship that didn't really work, because Druig and Makar's relationship was like, yeah, I ship them, as the kids call it. Gilgamesh and Thena's was awesome, and you can feel like their friendship. The main one that they were trying to do was Cersei and Icarus, and
Also known as Icky.
Although it worked, it was the weakest out of all the relationships that were there that were trying to form. But yeah, that was the only thing that although I do really love how ironic Icarus last scene was, and he that's some Shakespearean shit right there. Icarus flew to the sun.
I didn't like
Yeah,
I
that.
thought it was great.
No, come on. You tell me you didn't groan. Come on. It
I
was like,
hated
oh,
it. I hated it. I
was
wanted
like,
him to just fly
oh.
off into space. Like that's
I
fine.
loved
Just
it.
go away. But
Okay, so
'cause, like,
I'm gonna explain myself why I really like that scene. I think this is just me. Again, I thought he served two purposes in his time in being eternal, is being the good soldier and his love for Cersei. He betrayed Arishem for his love of Cersei, but he's not gonna get that love from Cersei because she loves Dane. And it reminds me, what's that? I can't remember the show, but he had nothing to do. I mean, that's it. He's like, all right, that's all my purpose in living. Let me go beat my namesake and actually fly into the sun. I'm gonna be reborn anyway. My other memory is somewhere in that giant hard drive somewhere. So that is. But I know you hate it, Michelle. Let me hear why you hate it.
okay, so I thought a really fun plot point that Sprite was the one who created that original story of Icarus flying into the sun. They kind of talked about that a couple times, that Sprite kind of spread all of these rumors that ended up becoming these like epics and these tales and this and that. And I thought that was really cool. But like Sprite wrote the story of you flying into the sun. So it doesn't mean anything to him to fly into the sun specifically. You know what I mean? I don't know. That just felt weird to me because it wasn't like he actually flew too close to the sun. And there was he didn't have a pre-existing relationship with the sun. We'll just say that. So I wish he had just flown away. Just go away and go think about your shit for a while and then maybe come back. I don't know, because I didn't really have that big of an issue with him. I just think he should go away for a bit. And then just because I agree and also want to add to this, I think the Icky relationship was very weak, but also I think the Cersei Dane relationship was very weak. She doesn't love him. I don't see that literally at all. She tolerates him at best. Like it really felt so friend zoney to me, where like he wanted to kiss her and she like hugged him, and like they didn't even get to have like a moment at all. Even when he's like, I love you, and I know their moment was kind of ruined, but when he's like, move in with me, she's all like, no, and won't, like she just hugs him awkwardly. I'm like, that, I don't know, she doesn't clearly like either of these guys right now, so why does she need to be attached to either of them? I think it's honestly just a way, and I don't know if this is like for the comics or not, Alex, because like I'm gonna kind of spoil the mid-credit, whatever. Like he's what is he? Black Knight? Who's he? He's somebody. Yeah, he's Black Knight. So it's their way of introducing him by making him date her, because that's kind of weak. They could have just been like friends. Like it really didn't need to be a romantical thing that didn't work.
Well, you know what? I honestly think the true issue is that he just wasn't in the movie. I like if you had more scenes with him, I'm sure they could have established something. Aside from that, in the comics, Cersei and Black Knight in the 90s, they were a couple. So I guess like because like you kind of need an anchor, a human anchor for one of the Eternals, to show why they can't kind of ingratiate themselves into human civilization even thousands of years later. But with this changing point, maybe something has changed in Cersei. But I don't even remember the ending. Like, was that about? Oh my God, we didn't talk about the ending. Can I just bring that up? Like,
absolutely.
That was like, Okay, that's like losing half a mark,
Hi, guys.
like half a point out of 10, because it was like Poochie's like, I must go, my home planet needs me. Boop, 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 boop. Like the way Cersei just like, what the hell was that? That was so bad. It was just bad. It looked bad. It was
that
weird.
third
Yeah.
act was kind of weak.
Yeah. It was like, wait, what? I guess because like I'm also looking for some sort of like resolution, like emotional resolution for Cersei, and like
Yes.
literally literally, whoop, like, oh, okay, there she goes. So yeah, to Michelle's, yeah, please include that. But to Michelle's point, it was dropping of the ball, like not having Dane in the movie enough, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I got this thing for my uncle. Holy crap! Look, oh, okay, bye. You know, it was like they're trying to tack on a lot. Yeah.
They're trying to use like my assumption is they're trying to use her being taken or whatever as the inciting incident for him touching the cursed sword or whatever. So like that's his origin story, is that he loves her enough to like pick up this sword. But like she doesn't even like him. Like at least give the man some hope. Because this right now it looks like this really sad like unrequited puppy love where he like really likes her and she's like, I don't like you that much. So he's gonna get all messed up and cursed and whatever and do stuff for this girl who doesn't even like him that much. Or maybe she does, but she's never actually told him. So that's so sad. I don't know. I just really want Jon Snow to have a romantic win. That's all I want. He's had a tough road.
I mean, for me, I guess I'm from the mindset that like I know the comics and like I know Cersei in the comics does like him, love him. So like I'm just waiting for that to you know parallel. Yeah. So like which is weird to hear coming from you, Michelle. Like that was your take from it, but it's a fair take because like it's how they portrayed it, which is pretty whack. But yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to our favorite scenes before our final thoughts, and we score this. Who wants to go first? Favorite scene or scenes?
I'll go first. I love I call it the cult leader scene. Druid with his little commune of humans. That it's a two-part scene. So him just wanting to remove the conflict from all the humans, that kind of altercation that he has with the rest of them where he goes and leaves. I love that. I liked his character's motivation. That makes sense. And then seeing him in his little like commune where they're all using the guns at the same time. I don't know why, but that like I thought that was really cool and kind of just an interesting kind of darker turn for this character, that in order to protect these people, he's actually just mind controlling them all the time. And I thought that was just really interesting. I wish I had been more fleshed out, but I just, in amidst all the fighting and the drama, I just liked kind of those smaller moments of this character kind of, I don't know, being a little bit misguided, I think would be the word I'd use for him, because I think he's just a pure boy on the inside, but he's doing things that are a little bit weird, a little sketchy. And I really like that.
Yeah, there was some really dark implications that they never followed up on with the whole Druid thing. Like it was so fascinating when that happened. I'm like, okay, so maybe half of them will start to influence human civilization, and then the other half, I don't know, whatever. But clearly that wasn't the case. Instead, I'll just say my favorite scene, which is just clearly the pew 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 of Icarus versus everyone. That's it. I'm a simple man. That was it. Nothing else to say.
Yeah, for me, basically the two favorite scenes were, I think I already mentioned it. Like the first one was Makari doing the sonic boom to that deviant, which is boom. And I like it because in the theater I was in, it's like the sound was left behind. Kind of, she would run and the sound would kind of be not in sync. So the sound would be like just a little bit behind, which is really cool. And the other one was her just trying to beat up Icarus. You just go.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I forgot to mention that I jumped the gun a little bit, but let's talk about the end credit scenes, the mid credit and the end credit. So the mid credit scenes goes the remaining Eternals go off to space, find more Eternals, and who shows up? Pip the Troll, who introduces Eros, aka Harry Styles, which got I could tell how old some of the people watching the movies were when they were just like, stop. I'm like, yeah, I don't know any of his songs, but cool. Arrow, Star Fox is here. And then I guess the next one is Dane gets the sword from his uncle, the ebony blade, which is kind of funny because the person talking to him, I think is like, "Are you sure, Mr. Whitman?" was Mahershala Ali, aka Blade. So let's talk about it. How do you guys feel about the mid and end credit scene?
Sorry to cut anyone off, or you specifically, Michelle, but I just want to say that wasn't Blade at the end. That was just a freaking, I'm trying not to swear, it's just a voice. It was a voice. And then later on, you go home, like the interview's like, oh, that was Blade, guys. Like, no, that wasn't Blade. If that was Blade, they would have showed Blade. It's like, to me, okay, whatever. They're going to say later it's Blade. But like, if you don't show the character, then it's just a voice off screen. Like, you should have just ended it with the funky sword, and then that's it. Cool, okay. Black Knight, there you go. But like, oh, ho, 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 you know, I'm the new Nick Fury. Like, what? Stop it.
Talk about just
you don't need
teasing, right?
Yeah, no, but like if it was like a black trench coat and the boots, okay, then it's like, oh, it's Blade, you know? Okay, then you're giving me something. But it's just a voice, and I have no idea. It's like, is it like my first thought was Pete Wisdom, because I'm a comic book nerd, because I'm a loser and I read too many comic books at home since I was a kid.
I thought it was a watcher, to be honest. Like Blade was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah, see, that was the thing. That was horrible. It might have been my least favorite end credit scene, because it was just like, you're giving me nothing. Like, I have to go home and find this one out. Yeah. As for the whole Harry Styles thing, like, I can't stop calling him Star Fox. He's Star Fox because that's his character name in the comics, and like, I can't help it. Eros is weird, and he has like a rapey power, but like, I hope he doesn't have it.
He does what now?
Horniest guy in the MCU
is
officially here. What?
Yeah, he's pretty much a rapist. Yeah. He's a rape dude.
I don't know how they're gonna portray him here in the MCU, but he's very rapey.
but look,
what?
look, hold on. I'm gonna defend. Well, I can't defend rape, but I'm gonna
makes people defend the character.
So, yeah,
that's
there you
his
go.
power, actually.
Yeah, in the comics, but
is that why they got Harry Styles? Because he like makes all the young girls so thirsty? Is that a thing? Because I was really curious why the hell he's in it.
Welcome to the Marvel Earth. Yeah.
I hate that.
That's Marvel for you. Yeah. What Thanos represents for death, I guess Eros represents for love. That's what I'm guessing.
It's gonna be tricky how they portray him, like, going forward.
Yeah. They're not giving him those powers. They're just turning him into a hot dude, and that's it. I'm guessing. But to be fair, Gambit has like a rapey power where he charms, he can charm people, but that's just by talking. So
he's a natural charmer.
Exactly. Thank you, Lou. Gambit. There's Michelle. Sorry.
Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah. Continue.
What? Now I have so many thoughts. Okay, so I'm like, I can't handle that.
I should have let you go first. I'm really sorry.
No, that's totally fine. Okay, I had it spoiled for myself that there was a Blade moment. So I knew going in to look for something that had to do with that. So when I saw a sword, a blade, I was like, is this the Blade moment? And then I heard the voice and I was like, this is the Blade moment. To me, it didn't really mean anything. I love Blade. Like, the Blade movies, I adore. I think Blade is cool. I'm really excited. I'm excited for the new casting. I love him. I think he's amazing. So like, I'm super hyped. But that moment, I was like,
yeah.
I had to Google what the heck was going on with our buddy Dane, because I, not the comic fan to that degree. I know the basic stuff. So this is completely outside my realm. So I had to do a Google and then pretend like I knew what was happening. Okay. And the same, like, the issue that I'm having now, because I'm not the comic book fan that Alex is, like I've read the Avengers stuff. Like I have a mild understanding of Avengers. I have a stupid understanding of She-Hulk because I read a lot of that as a kid for some reason. I don't know. That's what my dad gave me. I know a lot of X-Men. Cool. I own a lot of X-Men. So anything else I don't get. So both of these scenes for me, I'm just like, I'm questioning, am I the problem? Like, am I dumb for not knowing what this is? Or is this so obscure that like it's actually not that weird that I don't know what it is? So when Harry Styles rolled up, I'm like, why is Harry Styles here? Who is this? I literally had it had no reaction for me. It's funny that Lou mentioned like how his theater reacted. I was in the VIP theater, so I think it was a lot of people closer to my age. We all laughed and we're like, LOL, why is Harry Styles here? Like I audibly heard that from different like areas of the audience being like, what? I thought that was kind of funny because yeah. And I'm okay, so now here's my argument, just not on the rapey stuff, but on just like the bringing in a hot guy for the MCU. How are you ever going to tell me, or any human, that Harry Styles can stand near most of the Avengers and you still think Harry Styles is the hot one? Are you kidding? Regardless of your age, Harry Styles versus Captain America, or Harry Styles versus Winter Soldier, or Harry Styles versus freaking Black Widow. Literally anyone, any other Avenger is 1,000,000 times hotter than Harry Styles is. So I don't get that. I do not get it. I'm like, if you want to bring in like a younger hotness, I'm cool with that. Bring in an actual actor who's hot because they're hot. Like Harry Styles, the young girls are attracted to because he sings about like
watermelon sugar,
which is like very sexy apparently. I don't like, it's a, Google it for yourselves, internet, if you don't know what he's referencing in that freaking song. But it's like, that's the thing that makes him like an attractive human. So unless his character is going to be singing some Harry Styles songs, he doesn't hit that like attractive factor for I think most people. They're just going to be disappointed that he's just playing a weird character. So I'm like, you gotta elevate the hotness, because also even in this movie, look at my Eternal bros. Like Icarus is hot. He's hot too. And looks like a baby.
And he's a lot hotter now because he's in the sun.
I should have seen that coming. But you know what I mean? You're gonna have like the Angelina Jolies, the Gemma Chans, and then I can't remember Icarus's actor's name, but you're gonna have the three of them rolling around being just super hot. And then Harry Styles, like I just can't. He's just not there. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, my thought is to the mid and end credit scenes is I didn't care that much. It was Pip that was the CGI that I really hated. It looked really bad. But what I wanted is for the end and mid credit scene is I wanted that reaction. But this was like after. This is when I found out that it was actually Blade, because I thought it was like Alex. It was really stupid that it was just a voice. So you know how the younger kids were all with Harry Styles? I wanted my age to, when they saw Mahershala Ali, we would have done that.
Yeah.
Blade. I wanted something for both. They had the younger crowd yell for watermelon sugar. We wanted Blade. That's all it was. That's all it was. That's why I didn't like it as much as I would have. So yeah. Final thoughts and score, and maybe if you can, your top 5 MCU and where you would put Eternals. Who wants to go first? I can go
think
first.
about my top 5. Yeah.
Lou, it sounds more like you have a top 5 thought out.
Absolutely. That's why I asked the question. So final thoughts are: this was a really great movie. It's different, and I guess there was just a few little things that tethered it to like the Marvel universe. Chloe Zhao did an amazing job. The cast did an amazing job, and like I said, once in a while there's a movie that after watching it you can't stop thinking about it. This was it for me. That said, it had its flaws, but it's not a perfect movie. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. And as far as top 5 MCU and where I would put Eternals, here we go. So I Number one to me is one movie as Endgame and Infinity War. To me, that's one movie. That's number one. Number two is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Number three is Thor Ragnarok. Number four is Winter Soldier. Number five is Eternals. That's me.
Yeah.
Wow, top 5 movie. Hello.
It's a top
Interesting.
It's a
That's
top
wild.
5. Like, I know that's not going to be in your top 5 or probably even top 10. It's top 5. It just hit me the right way. I was like, yeah, this movie was made for me. It's not my X-Men. X-Men 97 is coming soon. I hope they don't screw that up.
Oh, let's not sidetrack here because like I've been thinking about it nonstop.
Let's finish it before we talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go next. I wrote down my
Okay.
5, and then I crossed a bunch out because then I was like, I don't know. So
Damn, I need to. Okay.
yeah, because I really had to think about it.
Go ahead.
Like it has changed recently. So this movie is not in my top 5. Sorry, Lou. I give it like a
Understandable.
7.5, 7.75. I enjoyed it. It's, probably not in my top 10, but it's good. Like I had a good time. I'm excited to see what happens past it. My top 5, and I feel like past the first one, the other 4 are in no particular order. So my number 1 is Black Panther. Like Eternals was made for Lou, Black Panther was made for me. I freaking love it. It came out right around my birthday. I saw it for my birthday, and I had a very special movie going experience, which when you pair that with what I think is a perfect movie, it's going to be top for me. Like I don't see anything removing Black Panther from being top spot for me. I really don't think that'll happen. So there's that. Then the rest in no particular order. I'm going to do the same thing. Endgame, Infinity War is one movie. Then here's my list. Thor Ragnarok's also in there. Then I also have Spider-Man, the Far From Home, the second Spider-Man, because the whole thing with him dealing with Iron Man being gone, that speaks to me on a very deep level, and I like it. And then Shang-Chi, I freaking love that movie. That's in my top 5. I adore that movie so much. I've seen it a couple more times, and I really, really like it.
Right.
Yeah, Eternals is good.
Okay.
Like it's good. It didn't change my life or blow my mind that much, but I enjoyed it. Like it's a good movie. It's a well done movie. And I feel like for me, at this point, there are so many Marvel movies that are so well done that it's hard for the newer ones to get into my top spots unless they do something vastly different, which is what Shang-Chi did in my mind. I thought it was different enough because of the mystical elements that it made it into the top 5. Whereas this one didn't do that for me. It felt like another team up, which I'm okay with, but the Avengers movies are already in my top 5 for the team ups.
I'll just start to talk about the movie because like we've all noticed that like the critics score versus like the user reviews are drastically different, and like I never buy into any of that, especially when like people are like, oh, they don't like inclusion. It's like, no, shut up. There's something about the movie that critics aren't liking. It's not because they don't like gay people or black people. It's just there's something in the movie they're not taking. It's like, oh, but they're white people.
It didn't work for them.
Yeah. And like it's clear why, because like the whole superhero trope, it's predicated on like, superhero elements. Like there's loss, and then there's revenge. Like if you look at Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, etc., they're all like that. This one totally breaks the mold. It's not a superhero movie. Completely different thing. Like well out there, well different. So like it's just not feeling like a Marvel movie. So like when you sit in the theater, you see the Marvel Studios thing, and then you see a scroll that you've never seen, like even the font in any other movie, obviously, right? But I think that's probably the strongest positive that it has, that it's not like a Marvel movie, but it's set in the Marvel universe. So like they can use stuff like Celestials, they can talk about Thanos, all this good stuff. Overall, more positives than negatives. Same with Michelle. I give it just a 7.5 out of 10. And as far as the Marvel movie goes, it would not be my top 5. Probably not my top 10 either. think I would put the Infinity Endgame thing at number 1. I'd put in Winter Soldier, Spider-Man Homecoming, Guardians, and maybe Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, that's what I put. That's my list.
Awesome. And with that, that is our review for the Eternals. We're still trying to reach 1,000. If you guys want to help us do that, you can just forget what I'm saying. Just subscribe, like, make a comment to any of our videos. Again, I'm joined by Alex and Michelle, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.